Representatives from the Philippines and China argue over their positions regarding the South China Sea maritime row at the Munich Security Conference. Speaking at a panel discussion alongside China's former Foreign Vice Minister, Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo asserts that the Philippines is merely exercising its rights in compliance with the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea whenever it undertakes any kind of activity within its exclusive economic zone. The forum tackles maritime strains in the Indo-Pacific and features 4 resource persons including Manalo, China's former Foreign Vice Minister Fu Ying, U.S. Senator Christopher Coons, and Singapore Defense Minister Nang Eng-Hen. Moderator Lin Kuok starts the discussion by tackling the military cooperation between the United States and the Philippines, particularly Washington's commitment to the Mutual Defense Treaty. Coons and Manalo both reaffirmed that the relationship between the two nations remains strong despite recent developments under the new Trump administration. Kuok then turns to Fu, asking her about where she would attribute the recent spike in tensions between China and the Philippines around Ayungin Shoal as well as in Escoda Shoal. According to Fu, in spite of the flashpoints over the years, there has not been a war in Asia. After the end of the Cold War, she says the whole region had a very strong consensus of one common objective, which is to develop the economy and maintain peace and stability. She says the South China Sea dispute was nothing new, but Beijing became concerned when Washington started to pay attention to the issue. She asserts that China has a very strong position on ownership, saying Beijing has to take responsibility about regional stability as one of the major countries in the region. Kuok then asks Manalo if she agrees with Fu's perspective that it was quite peaceful in the South China Sea. While there is no conflict, Manalo says there are certainly high tensions and the potential for the tensions to even rise further. Without naming China, Manalo says countries who reinterpret international law or apply their own domestic laws to certain areas and try to enforce them leads to further tensions. Manalo notes that the only way forward was for countries that have signed on agreements such as UNCLOS to abide by the provisions of the deal. Otherwise, he warns that the rich and the powerful are in the position to assert their own laws against weaker countries and create greater tension. When asked whether he agreed with the assessment that the Philippines had been too forward-leaning in pushing back against China despite its rights, Manalo says he could not agree with that. Fu points out that China cannot agree with the Philippines' occupation of Ayungin and Escoda Shoal, insisting it was a violation of the 2002 Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea. Fu previously served as Chinese ambassador to the Philippines. Over the past years, the Philippines encountered multiple instances of harassment within its exclusive economic zone, primarily involving Chinese maritime forces, especially during resupply missions to troops stationed at atolls within the country's territorial waters. China's so-called 10-dash line asserts sovereignty over nearly the entire South China Sea, in the process encroaching on the exclusive economic zones of the Philippines, Vietnam, Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Taiwan.